Hello everybody, welcome to HRC Games. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the game Castle Itter. We're going to take a look at my overall impressions of the game components, and the basic gameplay. Castle Itter is published by DVG Games and was designed by David Thompson. Castle Itter is a solo play game that should take you between 45 and 60 minutes to play, depending on how familiar you are with the rules and the flow of the game. Let's begin by talking about the game setting. Where does it occur in history? What's the game about? This battle occurs on May 5th, 1945. A group of U.S. soldiers joined with German infantry, an Austrian resistance fighter, some freed French prisoners of war to defend a castle against the attacking 17th SS Panzer Grenadier Division. In this game, you're playing the role of the defenders. You control the Americans, the Germans, and the freed French that are defending the castle against the encroaching German army. The goal of the game is for you to outlast the SS deck. If you can keep the Germans out of the castle until the SS deck is depleted, you win the game. You also gain points for every defender that remains alive at the end of the scenario. You also lose points for every German unit that is still on the board at the end of the game. So in one game you may win, but maybe your point total isn't very high. The next time you play you may win again, and your point total is much higher, which tells you that you've done an even better job of winning that particular scenario. So what are my overall impressions of this game? First and foremost, if you're new to solo wargaming or you're new to wargaming in general, this is a great game to start with. It's an easy game to learn. The rule set's very clear. All right, so if you're kind of on the fence of, do I want to take up wargaming? Do I want to invest my time in this kind of hobby? This is a great place for you to start. Some great things about this game. First and foremost, the rules are very clear and very easy to follow. Lots of good examples are in the rule book for you to look at. Second thing about this game is there's not an overwhelming number of things to keep track of. It's a very clean play. There's not an overwhelming amount of things that you have to keep track of. There's not a ton of details in this game. So it's a very easy game to kind of get started on and to get your feet wet into this process of wargaming. Third thing that's great about this game, it's a quick play. There's not a ton of rules you have to keep looking up, flipping back and forth through the rule book to kind of figure out what to do. There's not, like I said before, there's not a ton of things to keep track of. So if you're looking for something to do after work or to maybe just to pass an hour or so, it's a great game to get on the table, start playing right away. It doesn't take a lot of time to set up. There's not an overwhelming number of components, so it's a very quick play, which makes it a great game to play when you have a limited amount of time. Fourth great thing about this game is the reference cards. They have 3 charts that are very easy to use that remind you of what's going on in the game. So you don't have to keep looking back at the rule book all the time, and you're not always kind of bogged down by, grabbing this sheet of paper, grabbing that sheet of paper. You just take the reference cards with you, and then you're good to go. I will say that after you've played this game a few times, you won't even need those quick reference cards either. The next best thing about this game, replayability. There's lots of options to this game. There's lots of different ways that things can play out through the process. So every time you play the game, it's a little bit different, which gives this game great replayability value. Get a lot of mileage for your money. There are some solid strategy options in this game. There's also a variant to this game that makes it harder once you kind of get an idea of what the rules are like and how the gameplay is. So you can play it right out of the box, get things going, figure out how the scenarios are, and once you get really good at it, you can add the variant into the game, which will make it more difficult for you to go, which makes it even more replayable. So in my mind, I think this game has a ton of replayability, which means you're getting a lot of value for your money. Let's take a look at what comes in the box. First and foremost, the quality of this game is excellent. All the pieces are well made. They're thick construction. They're not flimsy. The map is good, solid. And so we're going to take a look at each of those components. But the overall quality of this game is excellent. So the first thing let's take a look at is the rulebook. It's not overly complex. It's not a huge tome, like some of the other rule books you may get. So again, if you're kind of getting new into the hobby or you're just now starting to figure out what it is that you want to play, this is a great game to start. Rules are very well written. They're very clear and very concise, and one of the other things that I love about some solitaire games versus other solitaire games is whether or not they have some examples. This rulebook is chock full of examples. There are all kinds, so every part of the game comes with an example that highlights the actual gameplay. So like I've said before in my previous videos, sometimes when somebody writes a rule, it's very clear to them, and then when somebody else starts reading it, it's not as clear. So a gameplay example is a great way for authors to highlight or provide a rationale behind what it is that they're doing. So this game, great examples for every phase of the game, for every little component of the game. So again, it's very easy for you to figure out how to play the game. It's very quick learn. So I think that the rules are really well done in this game. The next component I'd like to talk about is the map. It's a good sized map, but it's not overly large that makes it difficult to set up somewhere. You can fit it on your dining room table easy. Card table would work good. Pretty much anywhere you can find a flat surface will work for this game. It's not, overly huge. So as you can see, the map is very well done. It's very colorful. What I like about it is that everything is very easy to see. Everything is very easy to make out. There's nothing there that's like confusing. Sometimes you look at a map and the details aren't clear enough or the colors aren't clear enough, so it can be kind of hard to see. This map, none of those problems. Very well laid out, very easy to see. You got different colors for your line of sights. You've got clearly marked entry points for the SS units for when they come on. The big bold white lines here are for the different parts of the buildings, the different areas. Again, the map is really well done, well laid out. You also get a deck of SS cards. Shuffle these together, and it's what tells the Germans what to do. All right, so that's the actions that move them closer to the castle that you want to keep them out of. So after these deck of cards are depleted, that's when you win the game. These cards are very clear, not too much information on them, so they're easy to read. They don't slow you down in your gameplay. You're not hunting for a bunch of information. It makes the gameplay go along really fast. Game also comes with a few really handy quick reference sheets for you to figure out what it is that each of the phases do. So in this instance, this one, I believe, is the Defender actions. So it explains what each of the actions that you can take is, so you don't have to, again, have the rule book open all the time in order to play this game. The next one talks about the attributes. So each of the defenders has different attributes they have on their cards. We'll talk about this more when we do this in a later video. But this is a quick reference guide that tells you what each of those attributes are. Again, speeds up the gameplay. There's also a very good SS sheet that explains which each of the SS actions are as well. Again, great, you don't have to go back to the rulebook. Another great thing about these sheets is that while they help you speed up gameplay and they explain what things are, a really nice attribute they have is that if you read the section, this one has the defender's actions. If you read the sections and something still doesn't make sense, it also has the rule book page so that you can go directly to the specific page that you're looking for in the rule book. So again, that avoids a whole bunch of unnecessary page flipping through the rules to find out what you want to know. I'm a big fan of indexes, especially for larger games. This kind of even short circuits that. That's awesome, right? Because if you need to know where something is in the rulebook, all you got to do is look on your reference card. It'll take you right to the section of the rulebook that it's in. So again, these reference cards are really nice and handy and really speed up the gameplay as well. And of course, you get some dice. All games come with dice. So how does the game play? First and foremost, again, very fast, very easy to learn how to play this game without sacrificing depth and replayability. Great combination to have. So the game is split into two phases. You have the defender phase, which is what you play, so you're defending the castle. And each one of those phases, you have 5 actions that you can take. We'll talk about that more in the next video when we go through a playthrough. The second phase is the SS phase. This is where you draw 3 cards from the SS deck and you play each of those cards. Once those cards have been played and all those effects have been resolved, then you move on to the next turn, and then you start with the defender turn again, or the defender phase again. And that's pretty much all there is to the game. You got to master phase 1, what the defender does, and phase 2, what the Germans do. And that's it. Right? So that makes for a very quick, easy play game, again, without sacrificing the replayability. So while this section on gameplay is pretty short, that is a really good thing about this game. It plays well without sacrificing strategy and without sacrificing depth. Not to mention, it's a really neat kind of thing to be thinking about, right? This battle was a very unique thing that occurred in World War II, and it was one of the few times that the Germans and the Americans fought together rather than against each other. So while you can play this game multiple times, you also can learn a little bit about history, and it may spark your interest in reading some encounters about what this battle was actually about. So in conclusion, I think this game really checks off all the boxes for what makes a good solitaire game. It's easy to learn. It's fast to play. It has high replayability. The game has great components. Everything is quality made. There's nothing cheap here. There's nothing that's not going to last through multiple playings of this game. So you're going to get a lot of mileage out of your money. And finally, as a bonus, it really excels for new gamers. It's easy to learn. It's easy to play. However, it is still really good for advanced gamers or gamers that have lots of experience too, because there is that strategy and there is the variant that allows for more difficult gameplay in the future. Next time I'll cover the rules more in depth and we'll also do a playthrough. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you know when the next video is up and ready to watch. Have a great rest of your day and we'll see you next time.